Hello there racers, welcome back to my channel if you aren't already subscribed of course. Today it's time to explain you the essentials of tuning in Gran Turismo 7 so that you can have any idea how to tune your car without getting crazy in the process. I'll explain only the essentials today, but if you want other more specific videos about this wonderful game, let me know with a comment under this video. And also let me know how my new setup works out, if my voice is better recognizable than before. Alright? So, now let's start with the first setup to look for your project. There are many different tires, but what you aim for is only the sport tires or the racing tires, together with the intermediate and heavy wet ones. Sport tires are more performing than the comfort ones, but have less grip than the racing ones, cost less, and can be used in the rain with decent grip. The choice between hard, medium, and soft tires is up to you and your driving style. Soft tires in general are more performing, but degrades easily, and they are used for fast laps. The medium tires are the gap between performance and durability, and the hard ones are the most durable but have minimum grip, of course. The intermediate tires are just normal racing tires, but with the capacity to go through lightweight asphalt without making you spin, unless you race aggressively, of course. Remember that. They have a very great durability when racing on a rainy track, but they just lose double the grip of the soft tires on dry asphalt. And in the end, in case of a very terrible weather, you can use the heavy wet racing tires. Basically, it's the same stuff as the intermediate tires, but with worse endurance, let's call it like this. But let's jump to the personalized suspensions. The height from the ground is very important, of course. The lower the car, the more itself gets stable and eventually fast. But you can also touch the ground and eventually lose the control of the car on unstable terrain. The more the distance from the ground, the more you're able to run over obstacles, like curbs or irregularities of the terrain. But instability becomes a real problem, like understeering, for example. I suggested to experiment with one car first on more tracks to compare those settings. The anti-roll bars are used to limit the tilt of the car during a turn, so the higher the value, the more the car becomes rigid and follows your commands. But just watch out not to snap the effect and create a giant oversteer. More higher value on the front means understeer. More on the rear, more of a steer you got. As before, try the effects on the car of your choice and regulate it as you desire. I usually insert same values bottom, front and back, but you're free to experiment, of course, so just get on it. The compression and expansion of the shocks are also very important values as well for a great race. For a more rigid car, I just inserted 20-40 settings, so 20 on the compression value and 40 for the expansion value of the shocks, both front and rear ones. But this is just a purely personal example, so it will probably not fit your required needs. Judging from the track, you'll set all up as you need it to be. But I suggest not to pass the 28-48 values, unless you want to do a rally car. In that case, well, everything is different. It's up to you and your choices. The natural frequency of the suspensions is needed to determine spring stiffness and the responsiveness of the vehicle in general. Higher values means more rigid springs, so more rigid and stable ride, but very dangerous on bumpy and irregular terrain, like for example curbs. The negative camber is used to have more grip and less understeer. But if you apply an exaggerated camber, you'll have a huge number of disadvantages, like a faster tires usage and overheat, which happened sometimes for me as well. I suggest you to try a camber between 1.0 and 2.0 for the front wheels and 1 point less for the rear ones. So let's just say 2.0 and 1.0. Let's just call it like this. For example, the toe angle is used to control straight line stability and cornering responsiveness. When you have more toe in, so when your tires are pointed inward, you get more stability on the straight tracks. But when you have more toe out, you get agility on turns. I usually don't pass 0.10 values for my cars, but it gives problems to the handling, so just experiment with it. Very little values changing each time. So just take care of it. The personalized differential is a fundamental tool to create the best handling car of your choice. The initial torque serves to adjust the base locking level of the differential that is always active, even with racing at stable speed. It determines how much two drive wheels are connected before accelerating or braking. Higher values, like from 20 to 30, means that the car is stable on straight lines. It's more easy to turn, but you can experience a huge oversteer, and when you have lower values, the opposite happens. Pressure sensibility of the differential serves to determine how open or closed the differential is when you press the accelerator. Higher values means that the differential is more blocked, so you have more power, but you can easily lose control of your vehicle when turning, or even when you're on a straight line, which happened to me as well sometimes. When you open it, setting a lower value, it gives you more control, but a more evident understeer with following throwing of the vehicle outside of the track. Same thing applies with the braking sensitivity, but it applies when you brake and when you release the accelerator during a turn. The aero settings are very useful tools to make your car a real pleasure to drive, so these have to be set up properly. The front aero setting serves to create downforce to the front of your car and, for some absurd reason, makes you go faster, but it can absolutely destroy your handling if it's set up to the max amount. The rear one helps you to have a much stable and performing car on the turns, but slow you heavily on the straight parts of a track, making you lose precious milliseconds or even seconds. The personalized ECU serves to regulate the power points of your car for specific events and to give you more horsepower when needed. In case you need to race in a 800 pp race and you have more, lower the horsepower with this setting. The weights are used to limit the car points and add more weight to the car. Basically a setting that helps you bring a car to a lower rating, and which you can decide where to put weight and the weight's positioning. By setting that stuff to the left, it moves the weight to the front and the other one to the back of your vehicle. It can be useful to make your car more balanced in general, even with Porsches, if I remember correctly. The transmission is a setting needed to adapt the car pace to a specific track. But in short words, there are two options available, and you unlock them with an aftermarket gearbox. One is with a sequential and the other one with manual shift. The first option is the auto regulator, basically a more simple regulation to make things more easy. That only asks you which max speed you want to achieve without changing the single regulations of the single gears. The other one is more specific, but gives you the chance to move all of your gears and final gear. Usually, what I do is giving more top speed to cars with more horsepower but heavy, and short gears with low horsepower, small and light cars. To do this, regulate the final gear ratio for more fast setting, or work the whole gears and final ratio if you need something more specific. Turbos or chargers or anything like it is used to give more torque, horsepower and top speed, but burns more fuel in long runs. You can decide between three types of turbos: low, medium, high, or let's say 4 ultra high regimes if you're very crazy. The low regime ones is basically useless, if not for some fetish builds. The medium one adapts very well to pretty much everything, and the high and ultra high regimes gives a ton of horsepower but little less torque sometimes and a huge power kick. Compressors gets active at low revs but dies when going fast on long straight runs, but basically they have the same function of the turbos, like there is the low regime, medium and high regime ones. The braking system is very important to survive in general, but most importantly on the endurance races, or to do better times on time attacks and fast laps. So it's better to watch that out when building your project. If the car is heavy, Have low aero but good grip? You need the carbon ceramic disc with the sport brake pads. Very powerful but sensible and can block your tires very easily. If the car is more light instead, you need less braking power, like the buffet discs. You can regulate the braking balance with the brake controller. If you set the values to -1 or more, the power will be transferred to the front of the car. If you apply a positive value, more power is set to the rear. So here we are at the end of the video. If you want to support my work, just let me know it with a like, a comment, or just by subscribing to my channel. And if you want, you can suggest me other content to create. And I'll see what I can do, of course. Oh, and also just rate my new Rode microphone as well, if you want. See you on the streets.